Welcome to another edition of the Radio Impound podcast. This is the Mother's Day edition. Happy Mother's Day to all your moms out there.
Absolutely.
And what better Mother's Day gift, a Mother's Day gift than the Radio Impound podcast episode?
Yeah, you forward it to all the mothers.
So, yeah, that's exactly what you guys can do. Forward it to your mother and say, there you go, there's your gift.
A gift of gab.
The post Silver State edition, and I have the Nitro Buggy up on the screen for all you watching at home. For the audio listeners, sorry.
Well, they could cue it up and watch it too.
Yeah, there you go. Cue it up and watch along.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a cool thing you got going in the background here.
You know what? It's a good idea to do that too, because I had a few people message me, and actually, a friend of mine was tuned in the last recording, and he's like, "What's this RC racing all about?" And then when he saw the track, when I showed him the video, he was like, "Wow, that is killer." Corey Jordan dropping in. If you ain't ripping, you're tripping.
100%. Left tire salute.
I think that's Youre. I think you need to put that in there. Otherwise, Kirby would be correcting you, Corey.
If you ain't ripping, you are tripping.
Just put
you are. Yeah, I mean, that's how you do it.
So check my audio level out there, guys. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'm trying out this new audio interface, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to come through. We did a test run on this, and my audio wasn't the greatest, so I'm hoping I tweaked a few things here and it works now. So let me know, Corey. Or anybody listening or watching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll have 3 or 4 people join us here throughout.
Bill Collins says it sounds good. Great.
There you go.
Well, I have a voice for radio. So. Oh, wait, is that how it goes?
No, you have a face for radio.
Face for radio and a voice for silent movies. Correct.
Yeah.
That's
hey, that's your famous. That's your famous.
I
quote.
forgot. It's been so long. Yeah.
Yeah, we're watching here in the background is Silver State Pro Buggy A main. From Silver State, there's a 45-minute A main. We got Dakota here in the lead. It's early in the main here. So,
okay.
Big race. This is the largest RC event, I believe, of all time.
What? Of all time?
I believe it had about 1,100 entries or so. There was over 1,000 entries here. There's been a couple thousand entry races now. There's one, I believe, at PMB. I believe there was 1,000 there. Then there was 1,000 at Silver State before, and I believe this is the 3rd 1,000 entry race we've had in RC. And
so, what were those days like?
You know, as they talk about, or as it's talked about online, you know, there's entries and then there's people. Because entries,
how many classes, right?
Are really how many classes an individual. And at a race like this, one person could run 6 classes, but not many people do that. But so there's still over. I want to say there was like just under 400 individual people, which is a lot. And if you think of this as in a casino. This is normally used. This facility that you're seeing here is usually for rodeos and horse stuff and whatever happens. But the South Point Casino, this place is massive. There's a gigantic bowling alley in this place, and every time we go there, it seems like they're having a big bowling tournament
Was
along
Pete Weber
with.
there?
No, we did not see. I would have loved that,
Who do you think
but
you are? I am.
I am. I am. I got the point right. I just came.
I
I got
am.
that. Yeah. That's an
Who do you think
amazing.
you are? I am.
That's an amazing
It's the best.
that actually happened. But so yeah, this big casino. It's really not like a big floor of a casino, but it's there's a lot of room for activities like this, and so we got this big, because basically what there's going on here is this side where the track is.
Yeah.
Then there is where Hannah's videoing from here is actually like what you would consider like a small seating for spectators.
Okay.
They have about I don't know what it is, about 4 or 5 rows of seating. And then on the other side of that, there's a flat. And then on the other side, there's some more seats over there, I believe, pointing the other direction because there's just as much room on the other side of the building as there is here. So the very first time I was there, they had a fifth scale track over there that Joey built inside there. And what they're using it for now is the pits. They have a fifth scale track still, but the fifth scale track now is outside. So they had 100 entries outside. So they had fifth scale racing going on out there, 100 entries, had over 1,000 entries on this side. So it was a busy place. Casino.
So Corey's asking, was there a lot of spectators because of the fact that, the casino's right there? Was people coming in and out?
There is, and they could probably do it even better than they were, but they could set it up even better for spectators if they wanted to. But there was spectators. Actually, the way they did it this year, where they ran the main at like the main events were more like in the afternoon, between like 2 and 5 o'clock in that range.
Right.
And so there was still a lot of racers there, and all the seating was really full to watch. So it actually was a pretty exciting event because the way where they ran the main events and the schedule was good for spectators and people watching online. And I mean, I'm not saying that there's thousands of people there watching. It's it's maybe I don't know, a couple hundred, but hey, that's more than you could normally get. So, but this casino is pretty cool for this. There's a whole like I said, there's a big bowling thing there, and usually there's always a big tournament going on the same time we're there. But honestly, I think they didn't have the bowling tournament this year. We went up there and looked at it once, and it was like, there's booths everywhere, for the different manufacturers of bowling stuff, and then the bowling, how many lanes? I don't even know how many lanes there are. I don't know, if I just had to guess, there's like 50 of them or something up there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's huge.
What casino is this?
It's called the South Point Hotel and Casino.
Okay.
And it's really known for bowling. They have a lot of bowling events, and then they have a lot of these rodeo and horse type events. And that's why they have a lot of the space for it, and I think they do extremely well with that's kind of their niche. How would you say it? Niche. That's kind of their niche.
That's kind of the niche.
There's kind of a few levels.
So there's a lot to do.
There's a lot of space there.
Thank you, Matt. Always on the cutting edge of fashion.
Yep. I need some of those.
John checks in and says, what's the difference between praying in church and at the track?
Oh, no.
Waiting for the punchline now. And
Yep.
John, by the way, this hat was gifted to me by John years ago.
There you go.
And
John is a great guy. He stopped by our shop. Might have been about a year ago now. Um, Still got the RC10. Got that up on my shelf still. Um, so
the question I have is, does Stick It One, because this hat came from there, do they still make these hats? Because the hats are awesome.
I I don't know. I'm sure they do.
I don't see it on their site. I've been looking. So
Okay. I would assume that they did, but maybe not.
oh, here we go. So John says, what's the difference between praying in church and at the track? And the punchline to that is, at the track, you really mean it.
Oh my gosh.
Good one.
Probably that's probably an old horse track joke.
Right. Okay, so you can do gambling there. Did you lose any money at all? Did you?
Let's see. I
You're not
think
much of a gambler, are you?
no. I didn't even get to. Usually, like if I play, and because Allison came out too, and usually if we play, we do a little roulette because you just sit there and pick numbers, and I just keep putting more money on red 23.
Right. Oh,
Um, but didn't get to do that this time. But the girls Allison was with, they liked playing craps. And I went and stood by their table once, and they started winning, and they wouldn't let me leave because now I was the lucky token. So I just stayed there for about an hour and a half. I had to have my hand in the same position because that was lucky. So I think the girls there, I think they all were up $750 each.
wow.
And then I was allowed to leave. So
Did you get your cut of that?
I did not. I did not
What?
get. I did not get a cut.
Oh man.
But that was I think I put. $20 or $40 into a slot machine, and that was, as it is normally for me, a waste.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 8 to 9 minutes of hitting buttons, and then you
Done.
lost $4 to $40. So works well for them.
Right. Yeah.
It's a good little gig they got. So yeah, massive race. Track, they have to try to keep it a little on the wet side because that Vegas dirt is so dusty and nasty when it's dry that the casino wants them to keep it a little wet. So they're always putting some water down. You can see in this race going on in the video, you can see the wet parts where they're keeping it wet. If you look in the island areas, like near where Hannah's videoing from, you can see how dry it is there. But I think most drivers really like this track. They like the slight wet consistency of the surface. Here it's bumpy, but not crazy bumpy as it's been a few times when they've ran the finals. Here it's bumpy, but not out of control. Like you can see coming through this section where they are coming back towards the driver's stand, there's some popping and going on there, but braking bumps. So, and they actually, Anthony Westergaard, I believe, was redoing the track every night. He would go and drag it and pack it back down. So every day kind of started fresh. So it wasn't continually just abused over, a 4-day period. It kind of started fresh every day. And the racers seem to like it. I don't see any reason why they won't get about the same turnout next year. Maybe even more. I mean, it's hard to run a race with that many entries for so long because you can only run so late each day, and they did a pretty good job handling it. We were kind of done at, some things were pretty reasonable, or some hours are pretty reasonable. Uh, so I thought it was a good race overall. What a tendency to happen at these races is people do get sick quite a bit. Um,
Well, I
I
know
know,
somebody that got sick.
yeah, I always get sick at these races.
Now, at the race or when you came home?
I could feel it kind of towards the end
Uh-oh.
of the race, but uh, there's just so many people. If you're staying in that area where the track is constantly, they try to keep the dust down, but it's still dusty, and then obviously the fumes from the cars. So it's uh, it's a long haul.
Silver
Eh,
State 23 flew.
yeah, it's like the Chili Bowl
Chili
for
Bowl
me.
flu,
I think
Puxatawny
What did I tell you?
virus.
I'm 3 out of 4 going to Chili Bowl. I believe 3 out of 4 times I've gotten sick. Um,
You didn't get sick this year though.
I did, yeah,
Oh, you did.
yeah.
Oh, you were laid up for a while.
It wasn't that bad, but yeah, it's almost exactly the same thing I got here in Silver State. It's the same type of symptoms, and
Hmm.
um,
COVID
but
negative though.
yeah, I did a test afterwards and said negative. Um, although I've had COVID twice, so I'd be on a third time if it was COVID. So
Yeah, 3 for me.
you've had it 3 times.
Yeah. Well, actually 2 because the first one was the Puxatawny virus.
Ah, okay, whatever that is.
Well, I'm counting that as COVID because that was right when it was just coming around and everybody was like, it's over in China. But I got so sick that time I drove myself to the ER, which I never go to the doctors for anything. and they're like, well, we can't test for it, but man, maybe you have it. We don't know because that's when they didn't have test kits. So.
So if you have the Puxatani, does that?
The Puxatawny virus.
Yeah, if you had that, does that little does the little rodent come out of the box? What is it?
You mean the groundhog?
Yeah, the groundhog.
The little rodent.
Whatever it is.
Oh man.
You have to see the groundhog?
Well, you take a test and then he pops up out of the
Yeah.
out of the test strip.
Sorry, 2 more weeks of
2 more weeks of being sick.
2 more weeks of being sick. Yeah.
Oh
The
man.
whole getting sick thing, just with the whole, the COVID thing starting and then just getting sick is just
Yeah.
stuff.
John's saying
I
all you
remember,
gotta do is drink beer. That will
well,
cure it.
and maybe that's part of it.
Nick's saying proto COVID.
I remember back in the early days of, I'm sorry, the early 2000s when we used to go out every weekend, go to all these clubs and bars and stuff, and
Hmm.
I was sick all the time then too, because I mean, you know how those old clubs and bars are. It's like, there's people, it's tons of people all the time. And back, you don't know you turn the lights on in those kind of places and you'd be scared, right?
The
What it
Excalibur in Chicago.
There you go. What it actually looks like, I'm sure with the lights on is horrible. But, they turn the lights off and you got all these special, you got the special, lighting that they would do for clubs but
Yeah, you
those
can't see
places
shit.
are those
Yeah.
places are a mess.
Right.
So, but yeah, then I went for not doing that much anymore. That'd be quite a had a really good run, not getting very ill or sick, and but some of these indoor races get me.
Zach Ryan's checking in and he's saying, "Are the Yanks going to get some revenge and head to Europe?"
I don't think so, as far as I know, unless there's a Worlds over there. I don't really see. Um, I don't really see any of the guys going over in the near future, I guess, unless they decide to go over and try to run the E Buggy World Cup. Um, so I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Basically, Zach's referring to, Marco Barafalo won the Silver State. He's from Italy, so he's talking about if I'd heard of any Americans heading back that way to do any races over there, but I think they just had a race over the weekend called the IBC International Buggy Championship. I saw that Juan Carlos Canas won that one. I didn't really get to see much of the action during the finals or whatever happened there, but what I see in the videos leading up to that, I love those kind of tracks because I'm a 10 scale racer, I guess. So that track over there it's like a 10 scale, 8 scale track basically that's perfectly smooth, perfectly high grip. All that stuff looks super manicured, but it's an 8 scale race. So Juan Carlos Canas won that, who's a total badass. He got third at the Worlds in Spain. And at this race, I didn't see where Ronafalk finished. I forgot about that he was there. But the top three at the Worlds was Ongaro, Ronafalk, Juan Carlos Canas. Mayfield got fourth, and I can't remember who got fifth now, because Dakota flamed out right at the end, or ran out of gas. I can't remember what it was. I think he blew a plug. That's what it was. But Dakota at the Worlds in Spain was hauling ass, and he actually was catching up to everybody after a little bit of a poor start. And I think Dakota was probably in line to maybe be second or third there, and blew that plug. And but I don't know what the next race everybody will all get together at. It'll probably I've heard several drivers talk about wanting to go to AMS, which is the Alabama Manufacturers Shootout. I heard of Ongaro told me that he was considering going there. Who else was just telling me they were considering going? I believe the Hot Race guys, maybe they were telling me they were considering going there this year. Traditionally, the European racers don't like the races we have here with like 1,000 entries. They just think it's stupid.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, they want like a less classes. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not, but but
well, the days are really long. Yeah, they just want something simple.
Well, at a race like this,
maybe a couple classes.
Our system is a lot of classes, a lot of entries. Track gets built for that weekend, and then it's torn down. That's kind of the races we have here. Their races are traditionally on tracks that have been in before, and they have way less classes. I mean, they might even be down to 2 classes. I think that's all they had at that IBC. I mean, they call it a buggy championship, so there's no definitely truggy. So, they don't have 40 plus, 50 plus, sportsman, expert, pro. They don't have all these classes. So, in general, they have a little more streamlined of an event, less entries, and a little more, I guess you could say, a little more of a professional, um, world class feel. Whereas this is, our races are set up a little differently. And honestly, as a racer, I think I would prefer, if I was just racing and I didn't care about the company stuff or had a company or any of that, I would totally prefer that too.
Hmm.
The smaller, less entry, more concentration on, one or two classes. But and for the industry, it's nice to be able to have all these classes because um, we make truggies, we make e-buggies, we make e-truggies. So having places for them to race is critical, to the industry and the market. And if you're using these products, it's nice. So we're watching here in the background. We got still this Pro Buggy main going on, and let's see, Hannah appears to be following Long Win here, who was kind of our superstar in the main. Him and Mason Fuller, they got second and third for us. And Dakota TQ'd and was leading, and flamed out in the pits, I believe, or ran out of gas. There doesn't seem to be a super solid answer on it. They said there's fuel in the tank when they restarted them. Some people just said it to them. It looked like he ran out of fuel. I don't really know. But anyway, it allowed Marco Barafalo a nice path into the lead. And I talked to him after the race. I said, man, I don't remember you crashing that much in the whole main. And he said that he thinks he had one mistake and he missed the double jump twice. He said those were all of his mistakes. So he ran the best race for sure. 45 minutes on this track, one mistake, rolling a jump twice, that's going to get it done for most of these events. So, but kind of the unsung hero, or the talk of this race was a Felong here, who we're watching in the background. He runs for HB Racing and J Concepts. This kid is coming on strong. I mean, I think he's 11 years old, and you're watching him drive the car, and he's doing well.
Hmm.
Of course, everybody's commenting on everything, after the race, that, you'll be a world champion soon. And, it's just kind of, man, dude, he's off. He's off the kid a little bit.
Yeah, really. 11.
And you know what? Yeah, I don't like when people say that. It's nice to think that, but to say that is just, sometimes it's just so much has to be done before you get in that position. And it's just a lot of pressure to think about. But if he continues driving like this, he's going to win some races. There's no doubt about it. And he qualified well in all the classes. It's not like this was just kind of a one run thing. He qualified well and did well. He falls off the track right here. This probably cost him the win right there, actually, because he was really close to Marco in this race. I think he only finished like 9 seconds back or something. And he definitely had more mistakes than Marco. If you look at his lap times, he was actually a little faster, which was impressive. But yeah, we did some things at this race that were pretty good. It was a little disappointing not winning this main, but as they say, you can't win them all. But we definitely got some great performances from Felong, and then Mason Fuller, and then Obviously, Dakota recovering after a poor start, or a flame out in the pits or running out of fuel, and he still did pretty well. And then Spencer Rivkin, who this was probably his best overall 8 scale race that he's had. I don't know if in a long time or if ever, because a lot of the guys are running 4 classes now. You run e-buggy, nitro buggy, e-truggy, and nitro truggy. So a lot of the pros now are running 4 classes at this event. And I think if you did a total of the points for everybody, Spencer would have been right, definitely right in the running for best overall in 4 classes. Probably him or Mason Fuller, probably the two. In terms of 4 classes all the way around. So, Mayfield's running 4 classes at this event. He won Truggy, which was pretty cool. He got the big win at Nitro Challenge earlier in the year in Pro Buggy with the Techno. That was a big win for him. And then here is his first big win with the Truggy. So now he needs a e-buggy win, and he'll kind of have a big win with each one of the vehicles. And I think that's what he's going for. He usually is very amazing at the Roar Nationals in e-buggy, so we'll see if he can kind of put it together there. But it hasn't been super easy for him this year so far. He has won some races, but he had such a good, last 2 years, 2.5 years where he won practically everything. It's going to be no matter what car, no matter who's the driver, it's hard to replicate that. But that's the standard, for him is, he was winning everything. But he's still getting some wins here. So making the technos talk, as we got Phelon going on here, is just catching this guy in front of him again.
Oh, right here.
We're 32 minutes in. It's a little hard for me to see, but...
Are you on your phone? Or did you get your laptop hooked up?
No, this is my phone.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a little hard for me to see this, but whoever is in front of me is definitely catching him again. It might be Marco. So something happens here. Coming on the front straight. Oh, he's coming to the pits. That's what it was.
Matt's saying back to Gotti's glasses. I feel like I could see the future wearing those glasses. I need them. Hashtag Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You can get them on eBay or Amazon. Just search for Horus, HORUSX gaming glasses.
Horus X.
Horus X gaming. Yep. They filter out the blue light.
Another way that you could filter out the blue light.
No, I don't, Jason. What do you tell me?
Well, if you're not... Never mind.
Okay. Tyler Hooks checking in. Tyler's saying, would we, Jason, race on this year's 8-scale national track or too rough? Is the track too rough, Jason?
I would probably race on that track. Yeah, this year is at Chico, A-Main Hobbies track.
Oh, okay.
Northern California. And yeah, we've been there before where it's been super smooth. We've pretty much seen every condition. When they ran 10 scale at the Worlds there, the track was actually treated. I can't remember if they sugared it or what they did back then. But for 10 scale, it was totally smooth and high grip. Then they went to the 8 scale race. They kind of let it naturally blue groove, and that worked out pretty well. Then we ran an E-Nationals there where they watered it. And I would say that was a pretty good system. So we've seen it all there. But Yeah, I definitely for racing I prefer the smoother tracks. To me when they're all rough and blown out, like I'm just like not wanting to pull the trigger in the bumps. Like a lot of these guys just kind of pull the trigger and they just react to what's happening, whereas I'm like, I like to kind of know what's going on.
Man,
And when
that's
that
weird.
thing,
Like, especially from you come from the old school. You think you would like rough, bumpy tracks.
yeah, I mean, when we were racing 10 scale, outdoors and wet, they really weren't all that bumpy. They were a little bit, but not that much. Um, but I mean, some of these 8 scale tracks, and it's hard to tell in this. This is actually pretty bumpy here, but it's hard to see it. Uh, there's some that are nasty, nasty bumpy. Like you have zero, like, I mean, that's the tracks where you're just not even many races where Mayfield's one where he's not driving the race line at all anymore. He's like driving all the oddball lines because everything is so blown out. And that's where he's won a lot of races, actually, being good in those conditions. So, well, that's why he's won a lot of races because he's really kind of good in all the conditions. So that's kind of the difference. But
Matt saying, Jason, any chance you'd think about recreating classic vintage tires like the Losi 4 row or the Losi X pattern? Are these tires copyrighted?
no, they could be made again. I mean, there's nothing really, um, about them. We actually have a couple. I'm trying to think of the 2 tires. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We have a couple new tires coming out that are for vintage cars. Um, we call one a taper spike, and then the other one's a pin spike, I think. But they're modeled after old Yokomo tires. The tires that Masami ran in '91 at the '91 Worlds in Detroit when he was running pin front tires and pin rear tires on the Lomi track. We kind of designed some pins based off of that on a smaller carcass for a little smaller wheel. And we'll see those. We'll probably release those in the next week or so. But those are kind of like there's Phelon going for that was a real costly crash there at the end. But the race was kind of over at that point. But uh, so yeah, these vintage looking tires will be coming out in the next week or so, I think. But they're for 1.9 and 1.7 inch wheels. And we took a
Wow.
picture of them on the car that I have. They look really, really cool. Honestly, I have sort of this picture or this um, kind of this vision of this. My example, if I was to be able to go back in time and run a race,
Oh, all you need is these glasses. Go back in time.
we could. But I was allowed to bring back certain J Concepts items, so it's kind of like a little concept of our own. Like it's like okay, I could go back in time, but I could bring a J Concepts body, wing, wheels, and tires, and that's kind of how this car is outfitted. But it's kind of along the lines of what he's saying. But yeah, you could make a 4 row or an X pattern. The problem is the 4 row, those 2 tires really wouldn't work that great. The 4 row you could probably make work pretty good with the softer compounds, the X patterns. Everybody used to run the X patterns cut down. You would take the way Losi made them, and then you'd cut them in half. You'd cut all the spikes in half. You'd cut the big X in half
Right.
in the center, and that's how. I mean, the first time I went to California to race, and I went with Brian Kinwald and JD Beckwith to. First I went to it was JD Beckwith's home track in Northern California called. Why can't I remember the name of it? Anyway, Hobby something. Hobby Haven, that was the name of it. Went there and ran with JD, and that's what we were running a Losi 4 rib fronts, and then we ran X pattern rears, and we'd cut the rears, in half. That's how we raced them. And then when we drove down. I can't believe we did this, but we drove like 7 hours to go. They used to call it LA, but you're going to Orange County, where RCHR was, the super famous RCHR. Is the only time I raced there. And we went there and we raced with Kinwald. This was a time where this would have been like 1992. And one of the coolest track layouts I'd ever seen. Everything was a tabletop, which was amazing. I've never seen it done anywhere else. I mean, you can see this track's all doubles, but they made everything tabletops. It was the coolest thing that I've seen.
Every jump.
Everything was like a tabletop. So
wow,
it just had a really cool look. It was really, they were all really rhythm based layout. So yeah, went there, ran the X patterns on the back, cut in half. What Kinwald used to do there is he'd start the night with X patterns cut in half. Then before the main, he'd cut that in half.
Jesus.
So yeah, as the track got, because they used to work on the tracks like all the time there, and they would get harder and they would get looser. So when you started the night or started the racing, the track always had more grip. And so what Brian would do is he'd keep cutting his pins in half. So before the mains, he would always cut one more time. So those X patterns were so much smaller pin height by the time they're racing, or we were racing in the mains compared to when they came out of the package. But very neat tires. They called them those, whatever it was, the cushion sidewalls. I forget what they called them. Really kind of a neat look. It'd be kind of fun to go back and do some of that old stuff if we had more backyard or dirt off-road racing for 10 scale. But there just doesn't, there is some of it, but there's just, the majority of it now is not doing that. So 4 rows we used all the time in Savannah. When we go to Savannah, Georgia to race, man, we ran those 4 rows all the time. They'd run them at Lake Park, also Losi 4 rows. And then they're small tires. Man, those things are small. Real narrow.
Nick's saying bring back the blue dirt spec tires.
Man, those things are horrible.
They looked awesome.
They worked horrible though. Like that
really?
rubber, the rubber was so didn't work very good.
Was it like they ran, hard as a brick?
They were hard, but it wasn't that bad. It's just the formulation of the
make material, it blue screwed everything up, right?
I think it screwed a lot of things up. So
yeah. They smelled horrible too, Nick's saying.
They did. They were. I actually, I have some, because they only really made like 2 tread patterns. They had made a front and a rear because they're for spec racing. But I got a bunch of them. I have like BK bars, like X2000s. They had a tire called T2000s. I got a bunch of tires that are blue. I think they're here at the house. I could go get them. And show them, but yeah, I've had these things for about 20 years now.
Wow.
Just sitting in a bag, and because I think what happened is when they showed Kinwald the blue tires, he's like, "Oh, I got to have those in like BK bars and everything else," because he wanted them to work. He wanted to go race and win races with blue tires. That was like his goal. But he could never get them because he loved blue, right? So he always thought, I want to win a race with blue tires, but they never quite worked as well. So
I wonder if you, with today's technology, bring them back, maybe they would work.
Yeah, maybe if we did some work on it and could get it to work right. But
And maybe make them smell better too.
people
Matt's
hated
saying
them.
what? Matt's saying what were the good tires at this race? What kind of tire prep was needed for Silver State?
Well, we started off with our new Recon tire when the track was wet. Um, we went into reflexes. What else did we run? Oh, the Cosmos. That was probably one of the more successful or like stable tires was the Cosmos. And then we tried a couple new tires that we haven't come out with yet. We had Dakota did a little. His last qualifier was with a tire we had never shown before. He just went and ran it in the last round and TQ'd it. Or Hannah's showing the end of the video here. We got Marco Barofalo winning, and then of course Long second, and Mason Fuller third. But yeah, so that was the kind of the combination of tires in the end. The one that was surprising that caught everybody off guard was we started running triple Ds. That was a tire we don't use that often, but it started getting some use in the truck class, and then it kind of trickled over to buggy, and we had a lot of good races in buggy, a lot of good racers, and a lot of good finishes with the triple Ds there. As a matter of fact, I think that's what Dakota won e-buggy with. He won with triple Ds. I'm trying to think of the top three, because we had the top three in that class. I got a nice picture of it, but I can't remember. Mason might have ran Cosmos. Spencer, I think, was on triple Ds. I can't remember if it was all three.
Cosmo
But
Kramer.
so, and then Mayfield ran triple Ds in truck. He won them. He won the truck class with them. So our most successful tire of the weekend was triple Ds.
John saying, how are the team drivers liking the RC8 B4E?
I think it's worked really well for them. According to the people that I talked to, the sales have been really good on the vehicle. The performance has been good. Spencer just got second at this race. His car was every good as anyone else's, if not. I mean, Spencer probably had, of all four of his vehicles, he probably had some of the best cars out there at Silver State. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 or 3 of his classes he had the best car in the class. So I think that the new e-buggy's been working really well. They kind of got that new the weight, the way they got the saddle packs in the car working pretty well, and so I think it's a nice car.
There we go.
You got the Pro electric buggy here, and this is I believe Hannah runs it out here. So Dakota TQ, Spencer second. It was Mason Fuller third. Yeah, Mason Fuller third. That's actually how they finish in this race. So Ty Tessman fourth, Long fifth. There he is again. Brandon Rose sixth. Seventh, Ryan Mayfield. Eighth, Ryan Lutz. Ryan Lutz had a great weekend. Seth Van Dalen ninth. 10th, Jared Tebow. 11th, Birkin Killick. 12th, Ryan Cavallari. 13th, Joe Bornhorst. 14th, Yao Figueredo. 15th, Frankie Contreras Jr., who's coming on. He's doing a good job. And then Tater Sontag, 16th. So that's how they started. 16 cars in the main. You can see them going here. I mean, when you're racing right there in the middle of the track, you could see there's five. I mean, there's 5, 6 cars in one section of the track. That's pretty tough.
Dustin Spallone saying the B4E is dialed for a noob, for an 8-scale noob like Dustin. It's pretty nice to drive.
And they are getting a lot better. And I think the truth is the e-buggies in general are becoming, one of the biggest classes. I mean, on the East Coast, the big East Coast 8-scale races, the E-Class, I think, is actually the biggest. They used to call these races nitro races. Like this race, for instance, used to be called the Silver State Nitro Challenge, but you can't really call it that anymore because over half the entries are electric. So now it's got to be the Silver State Indoor Championships because
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They've changed the name of this race several times.
So electric is coming on.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah.
An 8-scale.
Yeah.
Really?
And the electrical is just so good now.
But I was gonna say it was the opposite a few years ago, right? I mean,
yeah, several years back it was just. I mean, we're talking quite a ways now, but it just the electrical is getting so good and the cars are so nice that everyone just loves it.
Nick is asking, how was the new Agama buggy looking?
There wasn't one at this race. The only one we've seen so far is Tyler Jones. Was he at PMB? I think he raced PMB with it. And I don't think he was in the main. I don't think he made the A main with it. I don't know that that's indicative of how good the car was, but I think he had a little bit of a rough weekend there. And he was in contention to be in the main. But, I mean, personally, I love the way the car looks. I think I was talking about it before when we were at the Worlds in Spain. I kind of forgot Lee Martin was even there on several occasions, and he was running the car. And I walked up to watch one of the mains, and I was like, what car is this? This thing looks badass on the track. And I was like, oh, this is Lee Martin with the Gamma. And I liked just visually looking at it while it was running around. I really liked the look of it. Kind of made me want one. It's a lay down shock car is what he's talking about here.
Oh, okay. Well, we always like those.
Yeah, so
Schumacher.
It's pretty neat. It just hasn't
Predator.
completely came out yet. I think Tyler Jones and maybe one or two other people are like the only ones that have them in America.
Oh, okay. So it's not.
Yeah, it's not actually out for retail sale, I guess. This e-buggy race really, between Dakota and Spencer, really went to the wire here. I mean, Spencer ran extremely well at this race. I was a little disappointed for him that he didn't have a podium in Nitro Buggy because he was really running that well all weekend. He should have been in there battling, I think, for the win. But sometimes things just, like he actually took the lead right here. And Dakota was hauling ass. He does catch up to him, but they have a little bump, but I don't think they were mad at each other. Yeah, John's saying that's a big class. It is. And even E-Truggy's coming a long ways. I ran that for the first time, it was probably over 10 years ago. I ran the Southern Nationals. And at the time, I remember thinking, this thing's amazing. I'm like, I can't see why this won't be just as popular, if not more popular than Nitro Truggy at some point. And now the electrical's so good. So you can see Dakota kind of catching back up to Spencer here. But I mean, the track is, you make one little bobble, I mean, you get a lot of track distance back. I really like the elevation sections here at Silver
Yeah, going
State
up
that
there.
come,
Yep.
yeah, coming down that hill. That was really neat. You go back up here again. This was a
Nope, that would be me right there.
big see Spencer trying to get around that rut there in front. Like Dakota's all over him. I think this is kind of where they touch. It's kind of a ways away from me when I was watching this. I couldn't really figure out.
Oh yes, we like that. There we go.
They got together there.
Definitely like that, Jason.
Wow.
That's the RC Devil.
Coming
He
down
likes when-
from.
Huh?
He likes when there's takeouts.
Oh, he loves when there's takeouts. Definitely loves it.
You know, Spencer was okay with how this. I don't think he was upset at Dakota, the way it all kind of happened there. So, I mean, I think this is Mason Fuller all over him now. Or Mason, he made a mistake there. Yeah, so that race was actually really, really tight between the three of them.
Yes, Jason, I love when RC racers take each other out. It brings me much enjoyment.
Sounds like the bad guy in what Ghostbusters was it?
I love when there's a lot of drama and racers fight. I like when they fight with each other. All right, back to Gotti.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thanks. What's Ghostbusters? Where the guy, the guy in the painting?
Oh,
what I'm
yeah,
talking
I
about?
forget. Yeah, I know what you mean.
They had there was a pretty nasty voice for him in that in that movie. It sounded a lot like that.
Jason, don't you like fights when there's racers fighting with each other?
It's very rare that you see an actual fight.
When they throw like their controller at each other or something like that. That'd be fun. There needs to be more drama in RC. What are you laughing at, Jason? You know who I used to race for, Jason?
Definitely Trinity.
Exactly. Yes. Ernie Perfetti. Team Trinity, unstoppable. All right, back to Gotti.
All right. Well, thank you. We were unstoppable back then.
Yeah, definitely had a good little run there. I mean, to be honest, they've been unstoppable for a long time in some of the motor. Yeah, Zool. John. That's what it is. No Dana, only Zool. Right?
Jason Santos saying Vigo?
That might be it too. The guy, yeah. Well, Zool was from the first one, right? And then Vigo might be the one that was in the painting. I don't remember.
I'm back again. You know what Ernie Perfetti used to always say to me?
I do not.
If you're making friends, you ain't making money. I love that one.
That's pretty good.
Oh, what do we got here? Oops.
What do we
Well,
got
it's an
here?
interview. It's an after race interview.
Oh, all right. It's great with no audio. I can't hear it.
It's like we green screened it here or something.
Yeah. What did they?
I don't know. What is
Or no.
this? I would have been here for this. I don't even know where they are here.
Yeah, but there's
It looks like they're in North Carolina somewhere.
yeah, there's like trees and that's not in Vegas. That must be
Yeah, They must have green screened it.
wow. Well, Tyler Hooks was in here, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, they were both. This is from the race. They're
Yeah, no,
both
I mean
at the
Tyler was
race.
in the chat. He could have told
Yeah,
us
yeah,
that looks
yeah.
like
Maybe
good.
he could tell us. I mean, I don't think anything looks like this in Vegas.
All right.
They're on cloud nine.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so that race finished up. E-Buggy 10-minute main was Dakota 1, Spencer 2nd, Mason Fuller 3rd, who really probably between the three of them, the hottest, well, three of, if not the three hottest racers kind of going right now. For sure.
I was checking out the Agama buggy here.
Yeah, this is I think they call it the N1. Is that what it is?
Agama N1 Nitro Competition Buggy Kit, and this is where you can pre-order it, and it says the first allotment is sold out.
There you go.
So you're out of luck.
I'll have to buy one on eBay for more than it's worth.
Yeah, anytime you got lay down shocks like that, it just looks badass. Oh, it's like the Predator.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been several vehicles over the years using the lay down shocks and some kind of mechanism.
Lay down shocks always made sense to me, but I guess it's a little difficult, right?
Well, there's compromises with everything.
But you think with lower center of gravity, it would
Yeah, I mean
help the car out.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the basis of a lot of the racing, but there are compromises you have to do this type of stuff. So you have to weigh what you're getting out of it, versus what you're giving away to do it. So no Dana, only Zool.
Ron's saying, what happened with JQ? Does he mean the car?
I honestly I don't know.
Were they at the race?
Well, the Mayako, they had some
Mayako.
Mayako drivers. He might have to clarify about what happened with JQ. I'm not sure, but but there was some Mayako drivers. Obviously, Tebow is their number one here
Oh, okay.
in the U.S. And he didn't really have a good race, to be honest. His best result was, I think he was in the E-Buggy A-Main. Is that what it was, or was it Truggy? He only made one of three A-Mains, and traditionally Tebow would be a guy in the top. Well, if you're going to take 16, to me he's a guy that's in the top half of that. So didn't have a great weekend. I talked to him right at the end. He was really, really frustrated with the weekend. But he announced his retirement before the year started. Well, not before the year started, but while the year was going, he was talking about this is going to be his last year as a pro racer. I think sometimes people misinterpret what that means, but I think what it means to me, Masami is retired, but all he does is post videos of him driving RC cars still. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's and he's sometimes he's racing, sometimes, so it's like, well, you retired from being a professional, I guess you could say. It doesn't mean that you still don't drive cars or compete occasionally, but you retired as being a professional. So it's like, if you're a football player or something, and say it's Tom Brady or Brett Favre or one of these quarterbacks, you see them doing commercials where they're throwing, passes and, whether it's for Skechers or for, some brand, or you know what I mean? Like they
Right.
still actually, they kind of do it. They kind of, they still are involved in the sport, but they don't do it professionally.
Right. So if he retires as a pro, can he go down in the amateurs and just beat them all up?
No.
Okay. Well, I thought that.
If he races, he would still be in the pro class. So,
Well, I just thought maybe since he's saying he's retired, maybe we're reading into it like I'm retiring as a pro, but then like he returns in a month and he's beating up on these amateurs.
he's in the intermediate class.
Yeah. Well, I'm done, guy. I'm not racing for anybody. I'm buying my own stuff.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the way some of these things work, a lot of people could do that.
Well, why is he leaving though? I mean, how old's Tebow?
Well, he's 36.
But what would be a reason for? I guess you just don't want to travel no more.
I think what it is you. I mean, I don't really want to.
Maybe
Well,
you don't
no,
have the love for it anymore, and you feel like you should just.
Well,
bail out.
there's multiple things. There's multiple parts to this equation. if you're a professional doing something, it means that you're getting paid, right? Now, all these races have pro classes, but there's maybe only like 6 guys there that actually get paid to race. So everyone kind of uses this term pro kind of a little loosely, in
Right.
my opinion. But there a lot of these races, there might only be 6 guys there that actually get paid to race. They're really the true pros. So a guy like Tebow is one of those guys that's always been paid to race ever since he's probably been 14 or 15 years old. He's probably been paid something to race RC. So, and usually when you start to run out of companies that want to pay you to do it is when you decide that you're no longer a pro, right?
Okay.
That's my
That's fair.
interpretation of how it works. So to me, if there's still companies out there that were willing to pay you to do it month in and month out, what you're accustomed to making, you'd still be doing it because but I think what's happened over time is some of these opportunities aren't quite as available as they maybe were in the past. And I think that's part of the reason that some of the retirements happen. It's not necessarily because you don't necessarily want to do it anymore. It's because you're not being paid as a pro to do it. So, you're not going to go and do all these races for free and on your own dime because now you have to find out what you're going to do, to make the money again, right?
Right.
And he does have a plan. He's one of the racers out there. I've talked to him. He has a plan and he's kind of excited. I would say that he's excited about the next phase for him more than a lot of other guys. When I talk to him, he's just like, I'm kind of excited about going about this a little different way than the actual just driving. I think there was a time where he was really, really into being a pro RC driver for a living. And I think now he feels like he's in a position where he wants to do something else for a living. So that's what I see. I mean, he's still an incredible driver. And I'm sure what I see part of it is of what you're talking about is it's not that your heart's not in it, but it's not as much in it. Not as much.
Okay.
You have to be willing to put your heart and soul on the line for these things, for anything in competition. and I think it does get a little old after a while, living those ups and downs, and you're looking for a way to do it. And you still love it, you still like the equipment, the cars, but what you like about it most also is also winning. And if you're not winning, or you're lost the ability or the drive to put your heart and soul on the line like that, then it is time to not do it at that level anymore. You kind of have to do it on the Masami level. Um, so, uh, you know, he's still driving the cars. He's still going out promoting who he's working for, and
Right. Make
but
10 different Facebook accounts and confuse
yeah, he's still doing that. And but he's not having to. He's not getting paid to only be a driver and going to do these world events and everything else. He had to stop doing that because, well, one, you're no longer 25 years old, right?
Mm.
And when most of the people peak in this, that's probably the age you're in, 25 to 30 years old. And Masami's in his 50s, I think. So yeah, got to start thinking about those things.
Hey, congrats on the 20 years, by the way. You're wearing a 20-year shirt there.
Yep. Thanks.
2003.
2003. Yeah, we debuted the first body and the BJ4 at the 2003 Worlds. It's been a long run. Yeah, we're talking about here is a new body release, the S15 Truggy body. Spencer has it here on his E Truggy, but it's 4 nitro and E Truggies. Only one body fits a ton of different applications, which is kind of nice.
Oh.
You got to see him driving it around a little bit on that was the Nitro Challenge track, that kind of the abbreviated version. Because of the big track rained out, so we had to run under the roof here. So this was the makeshift track Joey built inside.
Wow.
And this is what we raced Nitro Challenge on. So this is Spencer driving this E-Truggy, and you can see the whole back straightaway here is actually asphalt. He comes off of that roller. That back straight
right
is
there?
asphalt. Yeah, it's asphalt.
Wow.
So this is all dirt they moved over from the other track inside this building, and the back straightaway they used was
Like a
all
European
asphalt.
track.
It was actually really nice. We got to be able to race, and at the end, it seemed like it went pretty well. Sure, it's not the big track. The big track was amazing, but I mean, it was so underwater. It was like rain. It rained every day we were there. Which is kind of why the Silver State race blew up, because I think in general, people look forward to this Dirt Nitro Challenge more than Silver State. But this year they saw the weather of the area was, for whatever reason, the whole entire week just showed rain, and it scared some entries off. But I think, and everybody was just, at first they were just kind of saying, yeah, we still think we're going to race. We still think we're going to do this. It's like, I don't think so. Not on the big track. I think I said this before, but when we were there, we actually got to practice. The racers got to practice on the big track at Nitro Challenge, and it was amazing. And I'm standing there watching, and Joey walks up next to me, and he's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Oh man, the track's great. Looks really good." He's like, "Yeah, I don't think we'll be racing on this though." I'm like,
You're like,
yeah.
what?
He's like, "Yeah, we'll be racing over there." and there was just a bunch of dirt in that covered area. There was nothing done yet. So we're having a practice on the big track, and he's just standing there, just super cool. No, not really under any stress at all. And he's like, yeah, I think we'll be racing over there tomorrow, though. And I look over there, and there's just a bunch of mounds of dirt. And I'm thinking, so when's the track going to get done?
Yeah, right.
And they worked on it a little bit all day, just here and there. Anthony Westergaard, I think he was busting his ass over there working on stuff. And Joey would go over, and you'd look over there every couple hours, and a little bit more would be done, a little bit more would be done, and just thinking, I wonder if this is actually going to work. And pretty soon, I think I'm back at the hotel looking at my phone, and Joey posts, yep, track's ready. We'll start over there tomorrow at like 7 a.m. And, pipes down, jumps are done. Built a little scoring booth for Jimmy. All the banners are up. And you're just thinking,
God damn.
what the hell? In one day, they had a nice group of people, but it's like, it's one thing to build a track in a couple days, but essentially they built a track in one day. So it shows you how fast you can get it done and have a track when you really have to. But it was just so funny. We're sitting there watching the practice on the big track, and he's just like, yeah, I think we'll be racing over there though. And I'm like looking and thinking, there is no track.
Yeah. How are we going to do this?
But it was done.
Well, credit to him.
Yeah. Yeah, so now we get, the Roar Carpet Nationals a couple weeks ago. That was great over at Beachline. Now we had the Silver State. Now we got our race next, this coming week is in Virginia at Adrenaline RC. We're having our Spring Indoor Nationals over there. This is for 10th scale. That's in Virginia.
Okay.
Week after that, I believe, is I don't know if there's a week in between or not.
Nationals, right?
Well, there's a race in between that. They're actually having the World's warm-up at Hobby Action.
The World Cup.
No, this is the World's warm-up for 10th scale.
Okay.
So this is at Hobby Action in Arizona. They have a World's warm-up. And then it's the Roar Nationals in Chico for 8 scale.
I thought we were calling warm-up World Cup now.
No, that's the...
Oh, that's only if you're introducing a new class. Right?
Correct.
Got you.
So the e-buggy event that's going on late this year, that's going to be called a World Cup.
So the World's warm-up, is that the layout that we're going to be using at the Worlds?
No. No, it'll be an all-new layout again at the actual Worlds.
How can you do that to them?
Well,
Remember we used to talk about that, like, well, wait a minute. What's the point?
Well, really the idea is when you go to a warm-up is to...
get used to the facility, the dirt.
It's the dirt. It's
right,
really
you
drive on the track and you drive on the dirt. You run the control tires, and that's where your comfort is from.
So basically, you'll know, we got to use this tires, regardless of the layout.
Well, it's what they feel like because
Right.
the tires are controlled. So you'll run those at the warm up.
That's right. What am I thinking? Are we running J Concepts?
No, the Worlds is going to be AKA 10 scale tires.
What?
Yep.
We lost the bid.
Actually, turned it down.
Oh, we turned it down. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, turned it down. Actually,
Turned it down. You get the bid
there
on
was
that?
several reasons. Not really a bid. It's just more of like we're close with
So
Larry and everybody at Hobby Action, and they asked us about it, and I actually said that I'd prefer that they would choose somebody else because, we have some great racers that are from there, and I'd rather not be involved in the tire side of it for the control tire because I just think that there's less hassle for us and, less.
Well, you can concentrate more on the race then.
Well,
than
yeah, and it's
supplying
just
the race.
yeah, and there's less because no matter what happens at these races, somebody always says, "Oh, these guys are cheating," or "That's cheating," and it's
Well,
like
that never ends.
so for us, I kind of felt like, well, if we just didn't do, I didn't want to be involved in the control tires because we have several fast guys that will be there, and I felt like that would be something somebody would say that, oh, those guys are cheating, somehow.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know what? If
That-
they're not using our tires, we're not involved. So
Yeah. Ernie used to be so frustrated with that. He used to come in and say, like, what I know, like, he would be, what's the point of this? We win and we get accused of cheating.
yeah.
He got pretty frustrated there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all like, what? Remember that? It was like 2003-ish.
Trying to see. Oh, I was watching the video going on here.
I don't know how you see any of that on your phone. That's got to be tiny.
I'm like, hey, what track is this? Okay, now I get it.
So this video is the Recon tire.
Yep, this is the promo video we made with the Recon tire. Hannah and Tyler filmed a lot of the little interview stuff with the drivers talking about the tire.
Mm-hmm.
And this video is actually from the national A-Main, or I'm sorry, actually that's what this is here, but this is from the Roar Nationals last year, showing Dakota in Mayfield and the guys running with the Recon tire here at the Roar Nats. I say this all the time, but this was another hard track. That was at Adobe. So then, Tyler's talking to Dakota here, and they're kind of going over some aspects of the Recon tire.
I was thinking I actually could turn the volume up for that. It wouldn't be so annoying.
Yeah, it's okay. They can always go back and watch this if they want.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of good info in this particular thing that with Tyler talking to the drivers here and getting their take on this tire and how it kind of works and which direction to run it in, and was some good stuff.
Okay, well, Silver States. Wrap it up.
That one's over with. Fantastic event. We won 3 out of the 4 pro classes. Marco Barafalo won the pro buggy. And I think we won our team won 7 classes overall, and then we had another driver I met there who won the Sportsman e-buggy. So we actually won 8 classes there at Silver State. It's a good race. I mean, it's just there's a lot of classes, a lot of time, but everyone enjoys it. Definitely recommended to go, but spend a little time wrenching and getting your cars ready and out on the track, but spend a little time going other places too. Maybe keep you from getting sick like me.
Yeah, best of luck.
So we got that race done, and then we're going into our INS event this coming weekend and at Adrenaline RC. Looking forward to going there again. Then we got so this is the E-Truggy you got up now from Silver State. And like we said, the World's Warm-Up, which is going to be at Hobby Action for 10 scale. And then Roar Nationals for 8 scale at A-Main's outdoor track. So it's been a while, been a long time since we've been out there to A-Main's track. So looking forward to doing that. It's another race here where Mason Fuller, 10-minute main here. He didn't make one mistake, or no crashes, no turn marshals. Spencer stayed in second here the whole time, and really, he made a nice little run towards the end. Picked up, got kind of close, but 10 minutes was over. So we got the top three here. Mayfield gets third here, and E-Truggy. So there's Felong was actually in second. He crashed right there. So now that's Mason in the lead, Spencer second. The white truck is Yao Figueredo, and then I think Mayfield's fourth right there. So he gets by Yao. And this is the best, actually, Mayfield's run with the Techno E-Truggy. I think he kind of thought it was going to be maybe an easy transition from one E-Truggy to another, but this is probably one he struggled with the most, surprisingly. And this is probably his best run so far with the Techno E-Truggy, and maybe he can kind of build on this towards that Roar Nationals later this year for the E classes. He always does amazing at that event, so it'd be nice to see him at least at the top of his game when he gets there. So we still got, and this is a great class. Like, I just see this getting bigger. E-Truggy, it's awesome. You got the big tires. You got the drivability is just insane with these things. You can hop the pipes, which the drivers love. When you crash, they just drive all over the pipes.
That's amazing to me because like I said, I just thought like a few years ago, like when I was at LCRC, guys were just kind of like, some guys were just like, E-Buggy, E-Truggy.
Yeah,
and now it's like,
big.
So what's getting better now? You said
all the electronics are a lot better
than they were like 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, they're definitely better than 5 years ago, and way
Wow.
better than they were 10 years ago.
It's just
So those,
easier
they run in a 10-minute main. Depending on the size of the event, they might run, double. I've seen them run triple mains before. Like the Roar Nats, they'll run triple 10-minute mains. This is a good class. All these E classes are pretty cool.
When I was watching it from home, I was just like waiting for the nitro. I was just like, ease up. I'm gonna bail out here. It's weird how things change.
Yeah, I mean,
I still love the pit stops and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard
that.
it's hard to beat that longer race with the pit stops, but
Yeah, it's just so cool.
But this is definitely has another purpose out there.
All right. Well, that was Silver State, and then you got a race coming up this weekend, or next weekend, right?
Well, it actually is this week. We'll on Thursday we'll go up to not LCRC.
Oh yeah, I'm not used to recording on Sundays. I thought it was Thursday.
Yeah, so we'll go up to Adrenaline this Thursday.
Adrenaline. Hannah's home track.
Yep, and then we'll be back on Monday after the race, and
we'll recap that before you leave for the other one.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to the World warm up.
Oh, you're not going?
No, because we're the Roar National is so close afterwards. So
okay,
but we'll recap it.
You're not going to take the wheelbarrow around the track and get dirt samples?
No,
you can have somebody else do that for you.
We've been there 1,000 times already.
Well, maybe Larry got different dirt samples or got different dirt.
He's going to move in the loamy dirt. We'll have to bust out those 4 rows and X patterns that they were talking about.
There you go.
That would be a shakeup.
There you go. All right. Well, we thank everybody for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Back You can also, if you're listening to the audio version, check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Give us a like, share, subscribe. It really helps us out. And you can tell when we go live.
There you go.
And we'll be back with getting a little bit more consistent. We'll be back hopefully next week, and Jason can give us a lowdown on what happened at Adrenaline.
That's right. And I think there was one question we got online. I'll have to dig that out.
Was it up here, you mean? Or you mean somebody sent you one?
No, I think they put it on the post when you had the other day. Somebody put a question on there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was you know what? I should hit that up real quick. I don't mean to.
I could go type in there too, but
yeah, where did it go? That was from Joe Zare, I believe, had a question in there.
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I got a little feedback there. Well, we got Justin Doyle. He wants the cookie recipe. I'm assuming he wants Grammy Gotti's cookie recipe.
I mean, who doesn't?
Jake Engstrom says he's glad to see that we're back. Good old Jake.
Big
He's
supporter.
big supporter of the podcast and always touring St. Petersburg, Florida down there.
Kidding.
We get all the updates of him going to all these restaurants.
Yeah.
And
We
it's
actually
like-
have to just ask him the good places to go to. He would know brunch, lunch, dinner. He's got it all.
Well, from the looks of it, I can't afford to go to any of those places that Jake goes to.
Well, I mean,
all
you do get
fancy
those,
stuff.
You do get those sheet subs. Those things aren't cheap.
That's right. Joey's there running the Ran Out of Talent podcast. It's another one you guys could go check out. 2 in 2 weeks. He was shocked that we were coming back.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I have a question for Jason. Do you think releasing the new trucks now will carry into fall indoor season, or will all the excitement be gone by the time that comes around?
So what he's talking about is Associated is releasing a T6.4, I believe, and a SC6.4, which is a new short course and a new stadium track.
Wow, they're still doing short course. Wow. But hey, whatever.
Personally, I think the excitement will wear off. Just because I think what was really kind of neat was the Roar Nationals. The Roar Nationals this year on carpet,
right,
was actually really cool watching Spencer, Dakota, and Brock race stadium truck on carpet. That was actually really neat. It was kind of motivating to see that there was some good stadium truck action. And that wasn't the only. They also had a 13.5 class that was good too. But that Doug Lariviere, we'll say. That's his last name, I think. I asked him if that was how he pronounced it. And he's like, it was close enough. Anyway, he won 13.5. But the stadium trucks looked pretty good on carpet there. Kind of fun. I just don't know if that excitement, though, for the new kits is going to last that long. There's nothing like the buggies right now, 2-wheel and 4-wheel, but I'm really looking for something else from the stadium trucks. They need to be a little bit more different for me. I'd like to see a little more innovation with the trucks in general. Because they're basically just taking all the newest buggy parts, putting them on, and then,
That's what they used to do in the old days.
Yeah, but for some reason in that generation, there was several times when the trucks came out before the buggies, they were so popular. But they're definitely missing something. And it's not a new thing. They've been missing something for quite a while. But I think stadium truck is the one that is lasting right now. The short course as a race scene is definitely not as big. as we've talked about several times. But I do think that the energy will kind of fizzle out again until something really happens um, with those trucks that make them a lot more exciting or different.
Like I have no idea what you can do other than Nick saying lay down shocks on the trucks.
I mean, you could do that, but
Well, what else can you do?
yeah, I mean, there's some things that I think there's some things you could do, but I don't want to go into it right now.
All right, yeah, we'll be here for another hour or two.
Yeah, we could talk about it. We can have it as a topic. We just put it in your notes,
All right, next pod.
and then we'll talk about what I think could be done.
Jason Santos is saying maybe put white parts. There you go.
You know, he make it look like an RC10T, and I mean, because in the '90s, Stadium Truck was amazing. They actually
It was
they
awesome.
worked. The ish to me, what happened, and we've talked about this before. The buggies today work better than they ever have, but to me, the trucks don't work better than the buggies. That was the advantage of before in the old days was the stadium trucks were easier to drive and they were actually worked better. But now all the buggies are amazing. So I think the advantage of the stadium truck has kind of gone away a little bit. So it needs a little bit of a mix up, a little flair. It needs some roar rule tweaks with the length of the truck to help. But I mean, my most collectible vehicle that I love is I'm a sucker for an RC10T team truck with white A-arms,
There
and
you
a
go.
black chassis. As me and you, when we were at the Vintage Nats those years back, that was the truck I was running. But that was my favorite truck. But they don't really, that's not the kind of racing we're doing now, and they need a little bit of work. But watching Spencer, Dakota, and Brock run at the Nationals was motivating, and on the carpet, they looked pretty good. So maybe there's some hope for Stadium Truck. I don't really hold out any racing hope for short course, other than it's still a great entry level class. It's still a great class of pockets of areas, but I mean, nothing to me will be like, I mean, short course in 2000, like 10, 11, 12, and 13. Man, it was awesome. Those 4 years were so good. And then it just kind of fell off. But man, there was 3 or 4 years that short course was so cool. And now it's kind of back to maybe Stadium Truck being a little cooler again. But
Bill Collins is saying that trackside short course is a good class there.
which is great. It's nice that they do have it, and that's maybe the reason why you have the Associated still making a vehicle to sell. It seems like other companies have pulled out completely, and it's nice that they have one in there.
Nick DeVito's saying, speaking of Vintage Nats, it's the second weekend of September this year. Be there or be square. I guess I'll be square.
Okay.
Isn't that the same time as the Worlds? I mean, the Worlds is
It might
September 9th.
actually be, yeah. It might actually be.
Jason Santos is saying, yeah, a month earlier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I had it. I thought I heard October. I guess he's speaking about the Vintage Nats.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think Worlds.
The problem with the Vintage Nats is it's not on a vintage track. That's the problem with the Vintage Nats. It would be nice if it was outside on like a cool outdoor track. It would just be that much better for me. Like,
okay.
I don't know. It's just my thing. Like,
so Jason Santos, that at Pit Stop Hobbies, did they do a vintage track for the?
well, it's outdoors.
Well, it's out. Yeah. But I mean,
It's outdoors, which is nice. I'm not so sure. The surface is kind of, the surface ranges depending on how the weather is. I would assume is most all outdoor tracks are. But I mean, to me, when I see vintage and I think vintage, I do want to run outdoors with some off-road tires. That's what I'd like to see.
all right. Matt checking in on YouTube. By the way, make sure you go over there, hit subscribe. When will you plan on tending vintage Nats next? Well, I guess it would have
Probably
to be next year.
Well, no, probably if it was organized at a cool vintage style outdoor track, that's probably when I would do it. Considering there's no other.
Where's it held at now? It's in.
I think it's at RC Excitement in Fitchburg,
Okay.
Massachusetts, on their indoor track. I think it's been there maybe the last, I would say, at least 3 or 4 years.
Is Eric Reichert still running that?
Yeah, which is
Okay.
it's a nice track. We've raced there a ton years ago. It's a great track, but if I'm gonna do vintage, I kind of just want to do it how we used to do it.
Outdoor. Jason is saying he thinks outdoor is an issue with the weather.
It is that's the problem.
Yeah. How about we recreate the? Here we go. Recreate the
Oh, no.
'96 Nationals track from Wagon, and then I don't know. That'd be awesome if you could recreate it at the actual location. But there's video out there. Get that track.
Well, what you need all the elevation on the right side. That's what kind of made that track kind of neat.
Yeah. But if you could do that, how awesome would that be? Then I'll show up for that.
It'd
Along
really
with
be
you.
a vintage. Nats.
That would be real vintage.
I mean, that's many layers of vintage, right?
Right.
Because it's like you're calling it a vintage Nat to begin with, but then you have a vintage track of a vintage Nationals. I don't know. It's too complicated.
Jason, what question? Matt says, what would be your car to use at the Vintage Nats?
RC10 World's car.
Outdoors is truly vintage. Remember rocks and dog bones, wind, etc. Yeah, definitely the rocks. Picking out the rocks. Pit Stop Hobbies in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania. It's pretty good. We get the vintage cars around there pretty well.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
I mean, when I seen that track, I talked to Jason about it. I mean, it looks like a great track, one that I would like to run at. It's that kind of look.
And I was going, actually, I was down in that area not too long ago. Well, I had to go to the Harrisburg airport, and I went past Mount Joy at the exit, and I took a photo of the exit and sent it to Jason. I'm like, are we racing or what? Pins and ribs. Okay. Well, we were supposed to end this show a while ago, but everybody loves talking about, anytime we get on the topic of vintage, then everybody starts chiming in. So everybody loves vintage, man.
It is.
So, well, we'll hit it up on the next pod. We'll talk about. And one more question, Jason, before we bail. Matt's saying, what current J Concept tires are good in outdoor dirt tracks?
We got Double D's, and Double D's V2 are probably the best pin tires for dirt 10 scale. And you might either run rips on the front, which is like a rib front, or we also have Double D's for the front too, but that's more of an aggressive front. But I like the Double D's in the rear, the V2 version, and if it gets a little more blue groove, you can go to the Sprinter rear tire.
Right. I like Double D's also. All right. We appreciate you joining us, and we will definitely catch you in the very near future.
Mm-hmm. Thanks again.
We'll catch you guys for 242 later.